ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
Half the stuff before they do what I call nastiness.
I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves or possesses weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with that smoke. We are still here!
We have to say yes to social justice.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
What's up, downers? Welcome to another episode of AntiNews Hot Takes, the place where I am late to the party on reporting about things in the news. And it's not reporting, it's me venting and ranting about things in the news, usually things that piss me off. And today is no exception to that. I'm usually bad at being on top of things because I don't really watch the news. I don't really keep up on what's going on in the world all that well. I don't pay that much attention until it becomes a very pressing issue. And in the past, I have made comments probably on this show that are like, people rioting, people burning down stores out of anger. It's not a good thing. It's not helpful. I'm starting to wonder what the other option is at this point, to be completely honest. I'm talking about this George Floyd case, obviously, and the riots that are currently going on there. If you're not familiar, it's a bad story. It's a bad look for everything, from every angle. And it's a sad one. I don't like talking about sad news, but here we are. And there's a lot to cover here. So a lot of people are saying things like, oh, we need more evidence. We need to know the full story more. We need to know this and that. The same thing that comes out, the same thing that people say every time that there's one of these cop killings. We need more evidence. And I'm certainly one to say that we need all the facts, we need everything before we can judge, but I feel like on this one, we've got quite a bit of evidence, enough to determine that these cops are, in fact, murderers. I don't think there's too many ways around it. George Floyd was, I don't remember what he was charged with. I'd have to check, but it was something nonviolent. He wasn't armed. He wasn't really struggling even. And if you're not familiar, the cop takes him. George Floyd ends up on the ground. He falls over in one way or another. And this cop has his, not quite his boot, but his knee on the back of the guy's neck, pinned him to the ground. And there's 2 or 3 other guys on top of him holding him in place while this one cop has his knee on the back of his neck. There's video everywhere. You can look it up. It happened. It's atrocious. But George Floyd is gasping for air. He's saying, I can't breathe. These guys are going to kill me. Help, help. Saying over and over, I can't breathe. What were they trying to prevent him from doing? I have no idea. But at some point, George goes unconscious. And do they stop? No, they do not. 4 minutes later, who knows at what point he actually died, but it was probably sometime in between passing out with the figurative boot on the back of his neck and the 4 minutes later when they rolled his limp body over and put him onto a stretcher because, man, it's ugly. It's real ugly. And I've said in the past, I've supported cops. I've been like, don't do stupid things and you won't get in stupid trouble. And that's ignorant. That's ignorant at this point. And I mean, how much evidence do you need? How many times do we have to see the same thing over and over? Every time this happens, we hear, hey, there are bad apples in every bunch. It's just one bad apple. You can't judge them all from that. How many times do we have to hear about the one bad apple, the other one bad apple, the other one bad apple before we come to the conclusion maybe there are a few good apples and the rest are all assholes? I'm changing my opinion on this as time goes on. And you can look at this from a racial perspective. You can say that a black guy was killed by a cop. That is what happened. You can say Black Lives Matter. They do, and they have every right to be pissed off. There are white people who are killed by cops. Sure, this is not that case. Now, all those things are true, and there's probably an issue with cops killing a higher majority of black people than white people. But the real issue, in my opinion, is cops versus humans. Cops versus the people. Cops versus all of us. We should all be standing together and saying, fucking enough right now. I'm not speaking for black people, obviously. I know a lot of people will bring that up. Oh, you're just a white guy speaking for black people. I'm not. I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking my personal opinion. My personal opinion is that we're all kind of fucked right now. We're all in a position where the state is telling us to stay at home. They're telling us what to do. They're bossing us around. They're murdering us in more ways than one. And enough is enough. To serve and protect. These people are supposed to be public servants. We're supposed to be their bosses. Their job, I mean, it's an outdated slogan at this point, but it was supposed to be to serve and protect. Who were they serving? Who were they protecting in this incident? Who were they serving and protecting in all these incidents? And do not text me while I'm ranting. Who are you serving and protecting when you take an unarmed man of any color, pin him to the ground until he dies? I don't know. Are you that bad at your job that you don't know how to use handcuffs to handcuff? You had him on his stomach. You could have handcuffed him, got him up, put him in the car. What was wrong with that? I don't know. But yeah, it is an issue of white cops killing black folks. Absolutely it is, and that is a big issue and a very important one to talk about. It is also it can be yes and. It can. I'm sick of white people saying, well, it's really just a matter of, bad cops and yada yada, or it's a matter of, I don't know. And also people talking about these riots and shit. That's where this starts for me. White people going on about, hey, these people are just delinquents and they're looting, and they're showing pictures of a guy looting and carrying a bunch of liquor out, and he's a black guy and blah, blah, blah. Great. Okay, so there are shitty people in every culture. There are shitty people in black culture. There are shitty people in white culture. We all know this. Some people are going to take advantage of the riot and use it for their own benefit to loot and to do stupid things. That doesn't mean that that's what the riot is for. I'm not saying that the riot is the best course of action. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But saying that these people are just there to loot and whatnot, that's like saying that all Christians are represented by the Westboro Baptist Church. There are shitty people in every category. Sorry, deal with it. Now, with the riots, I'm getting to the point where I think, maybe it is the right answer. How much state can we handle? How much slavery from the state can we handle? How much murder from the state can we handle before we do fight against tyranny with arms? I don't know. I don't know where that line is. I'm a libertarian. I believe in the non-aggression principle. I believe in the ownership of my body, my property, and nobody has the right to infringe upon that. That also includes cops. And I should have the right to defend other people who are being oppressed as well, so that they have the rights to their body, their autonomy, and their property as well. So people who are rioting for the right reasons, I kind of support it at this point, because where's the line? When this murderer with a badge is able to murder somebody in broad daylight in the middle of the street with a bunch of people crowding around filming it, and he's still not arrested, At what point do we start rioting? There might be a better answer. I just don't know what it is. But everybody goes to, our founding fathers, yada yada, as the moral, upright citizens and the bastions of liberty. They went to war and left and rioted on a grand scale when they thought that there was a gigantic injustice happening. That's why we're here. But I don't know when is the line where it calls for rioting. Where's the line where it calls for defending everyone, all of the people, against the overruling state by force of cops. I don't know, but I have a hard time, thinking less of people who came to that conclusion at this point when we all watched it happen. We all watched a man get murdered. Stop fucking texting me. Anyway, I also had somebody sent me, because if you're not familiar with our show, we talk about conspiracies and shit like that a lot. Somebody sent me this morning a video of a guy, and I'm not going to give the guy any credit. He's probably nobody you know. It's not like Alex Jones or anything like that. I don't know what Alex Jones's take is on this. I don't listen to Alex Jones either. But somebody sent me a video of this unknown guy. He's apparently got a little bit of a following, but I don't know anything about him. I had never heard about him. But he's going through this whole case, and he's like saying that it's all fake, saying that it's all, if you put this number and this number and this number together through gematria or whatever you want to call it, this number, these 9 numbers prove that their existence in this thing with this guy's name and that guy's street address and his mother's maiden name, because all these numbers keep popping up, that proves that this is a false flag psyop and nobody was killed. I literally heard a man say that this morning. Guess what color he was? Of course, it was white. What? Come on, people. Draw the line somewhere. You have to get off the boat somewhere. You have to accept reality at some point. And the reality is worse than the thing that you're saying is a conspiracy. You're saying, this guy was saying that there's some sort of conspiracy and it was just to divide us, to, go black against white again and have another one of these cases. And it was all staged. And that the riots are staged too. That is seriously the level of some of these idiots, and I do not support that. I love digging into conspiracies, but once you start going down that path of because numbers, nobody is dying, like, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe that the state is overruling your life and that they are murdering people. And if you are a conspiracy guy, then it shouldn't be that hard to accept that is the reality that we're living in. The 1984 reality. But yeah, this guy was trying to say that nobody was killed, and he was like, well, some people say that, he spit blood out of his mouth. I can spit blood out of my mouth. Give me a fucking break. It's not a good look for white people. It's not a good look for conspiracy people. It's not a good look for anybody, and you are being even more divisive by saying that nobody died in that situation. I draw the line long before that, especially if you're saying it definitively, you're wrong. On the topic of gematria or however you want to pronounce it, these people who string numbers together to come up with proof and evidence of certain things. There are certain numbers. Sure, there might be something to it. I have friends in the conspiracy realm that I think they're onto something, but people who use this 100% of the time to prove things, there are certain numbers that are more likely to pop up when you roll a dice or a die, or however you pronounce that. There are certain numbers that are more likely statistically to pop up. So if you keep seeing those numbers, it might not mean that there's this big grand conspiracy. It might mean that a cop is an asshole and numbers do certain things. That's a possibility. Also, this guy was saying, have you ever seen somebody get strangled from the back of his neck and still be able... First, he said, you can't strangle somebody from the back of their neck. Then he said, if you are being strangled, then you want to be able to talk. And I think there was one other point that he made, but we'll focus on those 2 points. Now, there's something called positional asphyxia, which has been a thing for well over 10 years. We've known about it. This was actually sent to me by a friend of the show and a good friend of mine who is a, what's it called? He's a medical person. Okay, we'll just say that. So he might not want his name shared anyway. So I will share this screen. I looked into it. I looked it up a little bit per his recommendation, but I think this is the right screen. Maybe? Hello? Hopefully this is showing up right. If not, I'll have to redo it. But positional asphyxia, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it's a real thing. Surprise, surprise. Also known as postural asphyxia, is a form of asphyxia which occurs when someone's position prevents the person from breathing adequately. Positional asphyxia may be a factor for people who die suddenly in a hog-tied restraint by police, prison corrections officers, military, or healthcare staff. Positional asphyxia is also a common cause of death in infants. So, yeah, it's a thing, guys. It's a thing. Okay, research has suggested that restraining a person in a face-down position is likely to cause greater restriction of breathing than restraining a person face up. Ta-da! Multiple cases have been associated with the hogtied or hobble-prone restraint position. Many law enforcement and health personnel are now taught to avoid restraining people face down, or to do so only for a very short period of time. That means do not put somebody face down. Put your boot on the back of their neck. It's not a boot, I know, but it's fitting. Put your knee on the back of their neck, hold them there till they go unconscious, and keep it there for 4 minutes after until they're dead. What are these people being taught? If all of them, nobody tried to stop him in the law enforcement. Nobody was trying to stop him. Nobody said, hey, this might be a bad idea. 5 minutes later, 6 minutes later, hey, this might be a bad idea. Risk factors which may increase the chance of death include prolonged, partially resisted restraint, obesity, prior cardiac or respiratory problems, and the use of illicit drugs such as cocaine. Other issues in the way the subject is restrained can also increase the risk of death. For example, kneeling or otherwise placing weight on the subject, and particularly any type of restraint hold around the subject's neck. Ta-da! Research measuring the effect of restraint positions on lung function suggests that restraint, which involves bending the restrained person or placing body weight on them, has more effect on their breathing than face-down position alone. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. What more evidence do you need that, yes, in fact, it is very, not only possible, but very probable that it is completely caused by this douchebag. I would say it is 100% proven, but in response to the guy who said that it is impossible to do that, what do you need? What do you want? What do you want? Do a little bit of research before making ridiculous assumptions that make everybody in all the categories that I kind of tend to fall into look like shitty people. Anyway, so yeah, to summarize, a man was murdered. A man was murdered in broad daylight by a fucking asshole, and he was assisted by 2 or 3 other fucking assholes who all happened to be police. How many times do we have to see this before we accept that that we have a problem with our police force all over the place? I mean, if you are a good cop, if you are a good person who upholds, quote unquote, upholds the Constitution, if you care about that, but if you're there to serve and protect and you actually take that seriously and you actually do that and you're actually not pulling people over for seatbelt violations and not pulling people over just because they're on their cell phone, and you're not pulling people over for arbitrary rules and regulations and laws and stupid shit that has absolutely nothing to do with serving and protecting, then good for you. You might be one of the good ones, but I'm afraid to say it because it's not going to make me a popular person, but fuck the police at this point. Fuck the police. Because the way I see this at best, this case with George Floyd, is there was a cop who pinned down a guy who did nothing nothing violent, did nothing that warranted this kind of action even remotely. And then when everybody gathered around him and hyped up his ego, he felt like, hey, I've got the power. I don't have to listen to y'all. I don't have to do anything you guys say. I am the power. I am the authority here, and I will stay here as long as I want. So the more you egg me on, the more I'm going to kill this guy. Watch me kill this guy. Watch me get away with it too. I've got a badge, so I can shoot you all in the face, and the worst thing that'll happen to me is I'll get fired tomorrow. That's where we're at. They're above the law. They're not defending the law. They are the law, and they are above it, and it's sickening. This guy was on an ego power trip, and because of that, George Floyd is dead right now. And these riots, I have a hard time taking issue with it. I mean, burning down an AutoZone isn't going to help your case. But these people are hurt. They're scared. They're mad. They're fucking angry as hell because a fellow citizen of their community was murdered and there's nothing they can do about it. It's not rational. It's not rational to riot. It's not rational to burn down an AutoZone. It's not rational to smash windows of Starbucks. Starbucks and AutoZone didn't do anything. These people are scared. They're mad. They're trying to make a statement, and statement heard. So maybe they're right. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they aren't. But where is the line? Where is the line? Where is the line where we can say enough is enough? We're gonna come out swinging, and if you get in the way, I'm sorry, but I'm mad. It's human nature. This is human nature. There was an injustice, and there's nothing they can do about it. I don't know what needs to happen. I mean, everybody says, well, we need to put body cams on every cop. Yeah, we do, but they don't release the body cam footage. They don't release the records and stuff until long after, when it doesn't matter anymore. And body cam isn't going to stop somebody from killing somebody. It's just going to get them in trouble after. I don't know what needs to happen, but something needs to happen. All the citizens, black, white, gay, straight, everybody needs to decide we've had enough. We've had enough of this. We can take care of ourselves for the most part. If you need to come in and, break up a scuffle or, arrest a murderer, fine, but stop being the murderer. There are probably more cops killing people than just your general everyday murderer. So, and no, don't check me on those statistics because I have no idea. But I would not be that surprised. It's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand, and how many times must we do this? How many times must we justify the thin blue line in order to, I don't know, seem like good, patriotic American citizens for allowing murder? Black lives matter. All lives matter. Yeah, but Black lives matter. Like, let's focus on it. The people matter. Like, let's all band together and find a solution and start voting some people out at the very least. I don't know if that could actually do anything ever, but we got to do something. We got to start somewhere. And if you've got answers, hit me up, Dan at tsidpod.com. Stay uncomfortable, stay angry, because the powers that be are killing us. That's enough of this. Thanks, guys, for listening. Let me know your thoughts. Dan at tsidpod.com, or drop a comment down in the comment section. You know what to do. But I'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, question everything. Stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.